All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're tackling a topic that is completely changing the landscape for anyone who does business with the Department of Defense. We're talking about the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, or CMMC. And look, if you're in the defense world, this isn't just something you should know about, it's something you have to understand, like right now.
And let's just start with this quote, because it really says it all. This isn't some proposal or a far-off idea anymore. The final rule is out. CMMC is officially baked into the Code of Federal Regulations. It is the law. So that whole wait-and-see approach, yeah, that's officially over. Which, brings us to the single most important question, doesn't it? With CMMC now a hard and fast reality, what does it actually mean for your company, for your operations, for your contracts, and let's be honest, for your bottom line? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down. To really get a handle on what you need to do, you first have to understand why this whole thing is happening. I promise you, this isn't just another bureaucratic hoop to jump through. This whole framework was born from a very, very serious national security crisis that turned into a massive business risk for the entire industry. So you gotta understand how things used to work. The old way, it was all based on self-attestation. Companies would just, sign a contract and say, yep, we're following their security rules. It was basically an honor system. The big problem? Well, it just wasn't working. CMMC flips the script to a trust but verify model. Now, an independent third party has to prove you're compliant. It creates real accountability. And when I say the old system wasn't working, I am not exaggerating. It was failing spectacularly. I mean, this quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? The defense industry leaking data like a sieve. Just think about that for a second. Sensitive information was just pouring out of the supply chain. And this is what that actually looks like in the real world. This isn't some abstract data breach story. We're talking about our adversaries getting their hands on American innovation, our blueprints, our tech, and using it to build their own jets and weapons. I mean, in some cases, their stuff was coming off the assembly line before ours was. That is the existential threat CMMC was built to stop. So, the problem is huge. How does CMMC fix it? Well, let's get into the model itself. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. It's actually a tiered system, and the whole idea is to match the level of security you need with how sensitive the data you're handling really is. First, you gotta understand the two main flavors of data. First up is Federal Contract Information, or FCI. The easiest way to think about this is it's the basic who, what, and when of a government contract. Stuff like invoices, delivery dates, things that aren't for public eyes but are pretty standard for doing business. Then, you've got the next level up. This is Controlled Unclassified Information, or CUI. And yeah, this is the big one. This is the stuff that really matters. If FCI is the delivery schedule for a new widget, CUI is the secret recipe, the actual engineering diagram for how to build that widget. This is the stuff our adversaries were after. So here's how it all fits together. Level 1 is your foundation. It's all about protecting that basic FCI with 15 essential security practices, and you do a self-assessment every year. Now, Level 2, this is where things get really serious for most companies. This is for protecting that sensitive CUI. You have to implement a whopping 110 security controls from a federal standard called NIST 800-171. And here is the kicker. No more grading your own homework. You need a formal third-party assessment every 3 years. And then there's Level 3, the top tier, for the super sensitive stuff, which gets an even tougher government-led review. Okay, you're going to hear this acronym all over the place, so let's just clear it up. C3PAO. Think of these organizations as the official referees. They're the independent groups that are accredited to come in and do your formal Level 2 assessment. You can't just call up any IT consultant. It has to be an official accredited C3PAO. All right, so we've got it. CMMC is the law, and we know the different levels. So the next big question is, when's the test? When does this all actually kick in? And you need to listen closely here, because the clock is ticking, probably a lot faster than you think. Here's the date to circle on your calendar in bright red ink, November 10th, 2025. This is the official start of Phase 1. From this day forward, the DoD can start putting CMMC requirements into new contracts. But, and this is a really big but, that is not the whole story. So yeah, the official rollout is happening in phases. Phase 1 starts with self-assessments. A year later, Phase 2 brings in those required C3PAO certifications. But here's the reality on the ground. The big prime contractors, they are not waiting for these government deadlines.
To protect their own supply chains, they are already turning to their subcontractors and asking for proof of compliance. For a lot of businesses, the real deadline isn't being set by the DoD, it's being set by their biggest customer, and that deadline is now.
Okay, I know this can all sound pretty overwhelming. It's a huge shift, but it is absolutely manageable if you have a plan. So let's wrap this up with an actionable roadmap. What are the concrete steps you can take starting today to get ready for this? It really boils down 4 key steps. First, define your scope. You have to draw a clear boundary around all the systems, people, and assets that touch this sensitive data. Know what's in and what's out. Second, describe your environment. You need the maps, the diagrams, the inventories. You have to be able to clearly explain your world to an outsider. Third, and this is critical, prove your compliance. You can't just say you're doing it, you need the evidence, the receipts, for every single requirement. And finally, fourth, prepare for assessment day. Get your team prepped and ready to confidently show that proof to the assessor. So let's just boil it all down. What are the absolute must-knows you should walk away with? 1. CMMC isn't optional, it's mandatory. 2. The timeline is, for all intents and purposes, right now, especially if you're a subcontractor. 3. This is a business problem for the leadership team, not just a task for the IT department. And 4. You cannot wing this. Preparation is everything. It's the only path to success. And we'll leave you with this final thought. The whole debate about if CMMC is going to happen, that's over. It's done. The only question left on the table is when. When is that contract with the new requirements going to land on your desk? When is your biggest customer going to make that call? So the real question isn't for the government anymore. It's for you. Is your business ready?